All right, so today looks scary, but it's actually not. We're just going to use algebra to work as sort of a shortcut to what we did yesterday. So I is the interest owed. In the past, we called this the finance charge. Now, the truth of it is that the finance charge is actually the interest plus extra fees. It's really the amount of money that the credit card charges you. And in the worksheets before, the amount of money that the credit card charged you was the interest. That made sense. It was the monthly interest rate times the amount of total money in your account at the end of the month. And in this case, it was $19, right? Because that was 2% of $950. So they charged you 19. So technically, that was the finance charge and the interest because there were no extra fees. This was zero, so it was just the interest. But here, they're actually two separate things. But right now, just think of this as interest, but in the past, we called that the finance charge. And this is equal to P, and P is the principal amount outstanding. That's basically this number right here. Do you remember how it was the balance minus the payments plus the purchases? Here, they're not giving you any of this. They're just giving you the amount of money that you owe them. So we're actually doing less than we had to do before. But this number that you found by doing the balance minus the payments plus the purchases, that's this money right here. So that's what P is. So they call it the principal amount outstanding, but just think of it as the balance. Okay? And then at the end, after adding and subtracting and all that. And then R is the interest rate. Think of it, it's the APR, right? Think of that. And then T is the amount of time in years. So let's say that we want to find the interest or the finance charge for 1 month. I'm just going to do number of years. There we go. So now to express 1 month in the term of years, divide by 12 to calculate interest over a period of 1 month. T equals 12. So if I wanted to write this equation for a month, it would be interest equals balance times APR uh, 1 over 12. Okay? And if you wanted to squish these together, it would be the same thing as balance times 1 over 12. And if we decided to write finance charge here, again, not the most accurate, but it doesn't really matter right now. Look at that. See? Finance charge equals balance times 1 over 12. Oh, that's not 1. Sorry, my bad. This should be APR. APR over 12. There we go. That's what we just did. See? The APR divided by 12, right? Times the balance minus payments and purchases. In the end, the final balance. If it makes it better, I'll say final. Right? The amount that you owe. Final balance. Because this was the previous balance minus payments for purchases. Good enough. The amount of money that you still owe them for balance times the APR divided by 12. That's what we did before, right? And that's how you would find the interest. And then you would have to add that to the amount of money in their balance. But if you want to take a shortcut, I know this looks scary, but this should be your best friend. It's a shortcut. It's called the PERT formula. It looks funky, but let me translate it for you. So A means total amount to pay off equals P which is the same thing as a P before. They call it the principal, but it's really the total amount that you owe. It's the amount in your balance. So we'll just write balance times 1 plus R, which we're going to write APR, divided by 12, because there are 12 months in a year. If, say, it was like calculated 4 times a year, this would be a 4. This number is just the amount of time that it's calculated. But credit cards, we know, calculates interest every month. So that's going to be 12 times the amount of years, which we don't know is T. 12 times number of years. Okay? Beautiful. Now, you made a purchase of $1,000 on your credit card. Brainstorm some things that cost $1,000. So, I know one of my students said that a phone cost $1,000. That's true. One kid said he had to get new tires. All right, and then I want to write a couple new things. It can be fun things, or it can just be boring things, like rent might cost $1,000. That's kind of high, but it depends on where you live. If you live near a college, that's definitely not unreasonable. Yeah, so just find a couple more things that cost $1,000. These are kind of just life stuff. It could be fun, but it's not like some incredible purchase that you make once in your lifetime. It's stuff you kind of need. You probably will make more than $1,000, and you'll probably spend more than $1,000 every month. Remember that the average credit card bill or credit card balance for an American is somewhere in the 6,000s. I believe it's 6,300, 6,100. So having a balance and owing $1,000 is not an incredible amount of money. All right, so you get your monthly credit card statement and are offered the option of making a minimum payment of $15 per month. If the credit card company charged you no interest, which would never happen, of course, how many months would it take you to pay off $1,000? So there's no interest. So don't worry about doing any of this stuff. This is all for interest, right? We're not worrying about that. This is to find out how much interest. This is to like the total plus the interest over a long period of time. We're not doing any of that. We're just gonna say, okay, so it's $1,000, right? How long is it gonna take you? Well, it's gonna be $15 a month times the amount of months, we don't know how many months, equals $1,000. Or how are we going to get x by itself? We're going to divide both sides by 15, right? So if there was no interest, which of course would never happen, because then they wouldn't make any money at all, we're just going to do 1,000 divided by the amount of money that you spend per month to find out how many months. So 60... I'll round to 67 months. That's about 5.5 years. It's a good long while, and that would be $15 a month with no interest. Now, your credit card company is giving you a moderate APR of 13%. With this interest rate, estimate the amount of months you think it would take you to pay off your balance of $1,000. You pay $15 each month. So it's obviously going to be more, right? Because you have interest. But for this, you don't have to do any math. I just want you to guess. Just kind of do your best, whatever number you think. Don't do any math. Answer this before you do the math. It should be more, but how much more? I don't know. I haven't done it yet. Guess. How much do you think you'll end up paying in interest in the end? Again, this is just however much you think you'll pay in interest. All right. Moving forward. If the 13% APR was a simple interest rate, that's super duper important, simple interest rate with no term, meaning you didn't have to pay it back in any specific amount of time, how much would you pay in interest? Let t equal 1, so that's 1 year. How much would you pay in interest if you paid it back in a year? Okay, so we're going to use the simple interest formula because it said simple interest, which was I equals PRT, or PERT formula. So that's the finance charge, or the interest, equals balance times APR times number of years. Okay. So interest equals the amount of money that you owe, which is $1,000, right? It's the same $1,000 that you owe in your credit card bill times the APR. But remember, you can't do anything with it. It's 13%. Turn it into a decimal first. 13%, 0.13, times 1, because t is 1. The amount of years is 1. All right, so we're going to find out what that is. So 1,000, 1,000 times 0.13 times 1 is $130 in interest if in a year. Now, is this number not correct? It's not correct. And the reason why is because credit cards don't wait an entire year to calculate interest, right? They calculate interest every month. We already did that. Every month they charge a new amount of money. Now it goes down as your balance goes down. Assuming that your balance does go down. If it goes up, then the interest is going to go up. But they calculate it every month and just keep on adding. And if you just pay the minimum, you might add more money than you pay off, and then your balance is going to go up, and so it's going to be a higher number than this. Okay, so no. Well, I guess yes, it's not correct. Is this number not correct? We're going to write yes for not correct. Credit cards charge interest every month, not every year. Total interest will be higher at the end of the year. All right, and we're going to solve that right now. So what if you decide not to pay anything on this loan for a year? So that's if you make no payments. Your balance just keeps on going up because they keep on adding or compounding this amount of interest. Using the formula for interest compounding monthly, calculate the amount of interest that you would accrue, that's a new vocab word, from not paying the loan for more than for 1 year. So we've got this formula. So it's A, meaning the total money that you owe. So A equals P, which is of course $1,000. That's the starting amount of money that you owe, times 1 plus APR, which is 0.13 over 12, the amount of months, to the power of 12 times the amount of years, which is 1. So it's just going to be 12, but that's okay. Here we go. So it's going to be 1,000 times. Let's find out what that is. So what is 0.13 divided by 12? It's going to be the monthly interest rate is, and then I'm just going to add that to 1 right now, because it says 1 plus. Don't forget to do that. So that's going to be 1.0108. Okay. I'm just trying to get a bunch of decimals. Good enough. And then that to the power of 12. That's 1,000. So this to the power of 12 is 1.138. So it's all right, and then that becomes $1,038.03. Okay. So when it asks you calculate the amount of interest, that's going to be, of course, that minus the 1,000, and that's going to be the money left over. So 1,000 minus 1. Oh wait, my bad. 3. It's just going to be simple. It's just going to be $138.03. So not a lot more, but more. There we go. Okay, so I want to bring something to your attention that's kind of funky going on. You'll remember that balance and P, remember P stood for the principal. It's the principal amount outstanding. Same thing as balance, right? Here they've got this word principal. It's the same word, but it's doing a different thing. So when it comes time to calculate the stuff in this graph, yesterday we did things slightly differently, so I want to just check in to make sure that you understand that we're doing it differently, so that way you're not confused. So before, we took the balance, subtracted the payments, and then we found interest on that. This time we're going to find the interest on the balance and then subtract the payments. So this kind of hurts the person a little bit more and helps the credit card company a little more because the interest is slightly higher than if you'd taken the payments out first. But different credit card companies do things differently. This credit card company is kind of harsher than the other one. And that's something to look for in the Schumer's box. Okay, so here they took the balance times the interest rate divided by 12. They could squish this and make it 0.13 over 12 if they wanted. And then they got this interest, $10.83. And then they took the payment and they subtracted payment minus that and got this principal. Again, same word, different meaning. I know this was used, this meant principal before. Yeah, but okay. So then the new balance is going to be 1,000 minus this payment right here. And that is that. Because this is the amount of money left over. So the interest soaks up a lot of your money that you spent to pay off the debt, right? Because you want this $15 to pay off your debt. But this is soaking it up. Because remember how we did the balance minus payment, that, and then plus interest, right? Oh, whoops, can't see that. Remember how we did that? How we took that $950 and then we added it. So this is the balance minus the payment. Then we added that to the interest. Here we're doing something a little different. We're doing balance plus payment minus interest. It looks funky, but it's the same answer. So there you go. So now I want you to use these calculations, do this chart. Tomorrow we will go from there.